everyone. Good morning on this side of the world. Good afternoon, no matter where you are in the world. Hope everybody's doing well. So I decided to come on with a live video today. I know that I haven't seen some of you in this live kind of format in a long time, but I am here. And if you're not able to catch this live, it's totally okay. Catch the replay. Only on Facebook, unfortunately, they're going to be taking those things down within 30 days. That's just the new policy, it seems. But I think it stays like on the other sites. So I believe I'm live on LinkedIn, Instagram, and that's about it. So, why am I on today? So, first, I wanted to say all across the world, for the most part, we celebrate Resurrection Day today. And so, or some people will refer to it as Easter. So, I wanted to just kind of share some of my reflections and how it relates to um, some things that's on my heart about like our character and how we express ourselves, especially towards one another. So, when it comes to just believing and knowing that, God has sent Jesus Christ for us to be saved and have our life to have it with abundance, and the fact that he died, but yet he rose. What I was reflecting about is like oftentimes we say things and we do routine things today, but how many of us are actually like really applying the fact that he's alive, which means that we're alive? And sometimes just quote being alive is so much deeper than how we portray it to be. There's times when you can walk around and just feel empty. There are times when you can walk around and feel that there's this void. There's times when you can walk around and you do feel like you're doing things like on a routine basis, but there's no life. You don't feel alive. And so when we take on the belief of knowing that, yes, if he's risen and we have risen, there's something special about like just this development of our character. And so that's what I wanted to talk about today because, at the end of the day, if we want to have a certain type of life, if we want to experience certain things in our lives that bring us joy, right? Or bring us rest or bring us comfort, things of that sort. I know that there's so much going on in the world, but then there's something special about having a peace, a mind, having a peace inside of your heart. And that comes with understanding that you are alive. And so I wanted to encourage someone out there to know that you can live again. And we are in the second quarter of the year, but you can live again. Maybe you didn't feel that way at the top of the year, but again, I have to repeat, you can live again. What does living look like? I mean, it's probably, it's a bit subjective of the topic. It can look different for people, but I guess I would say from my personal experience, living to me is really being able to not only be thankful for life. Hi, how are you? Not only being, thankful for life, but also understanding that life is a gift. And so I understand when we get up, and depending on what's going on in our worlds, right? Everything is rushed, everything is going on. You don't really have time sometimes to really sit down and think about these things. But I want to encourage you to really start to be a bit more aware of that. Start to really sit back and think about, what are you thankful for? What does it feel like to, appreciate your life where you are? Because at the end of the day, what you're going to recognize is you have to choose to live. I don't know if some of you have heard of a show that was on a long, long time ago called The Walking Dead. And I have noticed that sometimes when disappointment happens, sometimes when bitterness or maybe mistrust, all of these things can kind of like kill your livelihood, your liveliness. And so sometimes we'll walk around and we have on a mask or we think, that people can't see through it. And sometimes people can really read through it. So whatever that looks like to you, as far as to start to think about life from a different mindset, to think about what it means to even bring life. So for me personally, and I wanted to share some things on a personal note this morning, I have noticed that for me to be alive means that not only am I thinking about how blessed life is, but also being able to share with others, share my stories, share words of life, affirmations, some people may refer to it as. I see so many people, they can, I didn't know this is just me, but I didn't realize that there's so many people that go the day without hearing the words, I love you, I appreciate you, you're special, you mean a lot to me, or thank you for doing this for me, thank you for showing up. I didn't know that there were so many people that don't hear that. I didn't realize there were so many people that don't even get a hug on a daily basis. And so I want to challenge some of you out there to start speaking life. If you didn't hear it today that you are loved, that you are special, that someone is thinking about you. But I think one of the challenges is, again, when it comes to speaking and being alive, is that appreciate people while they're here. Say I love you. Say I'm thinking about you. Reach out to people. Sometimes just spreading a smile, a kind gesture. Those are things that keep us alive. So, when you speak to a thing, right, or you speak to a person, there's just something about the effect when it's positive. And so I encourage you to challenge yourself this week and even this month, where maybe it's not something you're used to, and that's okay to admit. But what I'm finding is that even in the midst of not experiencing things, while you're alive, you still have the opportunity to experience it. Sometimes you just have to take that chance. Sometimes you have to set aside the hurt or things that you've been, pondering about. Sometimes we have to be so humble to live. What does that mean to be humble to live? To again set aside pride, set aside differences, be able to say, you know what, this did happen, but is it worth bringing back up? Is it worth revisiting? Is it worth my life that I go without hearing the words I love you, or I care about you, or thank you? Sometimes we have to sit down and we have to decide what that looks like for us. So, often we think about, you know, well, if people do it this way, well, I'm going to be this way. And I feel like that's one of the biggest mistakes that we make on a daily basis, because if everyone is trying to act a certain way based on how someone else is acting, you don't win. And so, again, I encourage you to think about it from that perspective, that know that as you're living, it's not by mistake that you're alive. It's not by mistake that you're hearing this message. And even, okay, maybe you're the type of person that appreciates like the digital expressions and text messaging and things like that. I personally get tired of text messaging, but it's sometimes it's what people do and it is what it is, right? So, but even through that, sometimes you can make the effort to speak life, because even every occurrence in our lives, whether we're using something that's digital or we're in person or we're experiencing something, generally speaking, all of these things contribute to how alive are you going to be? How are you going to react and receive certain things in this life? So sometimes we're not thinking about it from that perspective, because again, life can happen, and we're just doing things out of routine. As I mentioned before, busyness, things like that. And then maybe sometimes you don't have the proper, I would say, voices of reason in your life. So that's another thing too. Who's around you? Like, who's speaking into your life? Are they alive? Because at the end of the day, if other people are carrying a certain type of mindset, or they carry a certain viewpoint, and you're carrying the viewpoint, we're all just going to agree with the same viewpoint, and there's no growth, there's no change, there's no challenge. So I do find too, for me personally, when it comes to being alive, it's like, accepting the challenge that you can be better, accepting the challenge that you can respond better, accepting the challenge that, do you want to live a life full of enemies, or do you want to live a life where enemies, they do exist, but there's also more for you than against you? So that also matters too, because the impressions you leave on people, the impact that you leave on people, that also matters. So whatever that looks like for you today, I just encourage you to really think on it, embrace it. And again, if you have not heard it, know that you are loved. Know that you are special. Know that you're here for a reason. Know that there's purpose in your life. Know that you will make it. Know that you can make it. Know that there is hope as long as you are alive. Know that if you do have people around you that care about you, reach out to them. Take care of your people, your family, your friends, etc. Do what you need to do because life is short and we can often take things for granted. We sometimes can take things very lightly. And I just thought about that today because it's a serious subject, you know? And if you do have any suggestions for me to talk about regarding topics, please let me know. And I will definitely think about those topics. That is going to be for like Speak Life. So this is a series that I usually do, and I'm going to return basically with the full Speak Life when it comes to certain topics in June. So it's going to be June of this year. So take good care, everyone. Have an excellent day, night, afternoon, no matter where you are in the world. This is ChesZerae, aka the pretty producer, aka the singing scholar. And again, stay